Chapter 24. Atlas is standing on the other side of the room. He hasn't taken his eyes off me the entire time the nurse has been helping me. After taking a blood sample, she immediately returned and began to attend to my cut. She hasn't asked me very many questions yet, but it's obvious my injuries are the result of an attack. I can see the pitying look on her face as she cleans up blood from the bite mark left on my shoulder. When she's finished, she glances back at Atlas. She steps to the right, blocking his view of me as she turns and faces me again. I need to ask you some personal questions. I'm going to ask him to leave the room, okay? It's in that moment that I realize she thinks Atlas is the one who did these things to me. I immediately start to shake my head. It wasn't him, I tell her. Please don't make him leave. Relief washes over her face. She nods her head and then pulls up a chair. Are you hurt anywhere else? I shake my head because she can't fix all the parts of me Ryle broke on the inside. Lily, her voice is gentle. Were you raped? Tears fill my eyes, and I see Atlas roll across the wall, pressing his forehead against it. The nurse waits until I make eye contact with her again to continue speaking. We have a certain examination for these situations. It's called a SANE exam. It's optional, of course, but I highly encourage it in your situation. I wasn't raped, I say. He didn't. Are you sure, Lily? The nurse asks. I nod. I don't want one. Atlas faces me again, and I can see the pain in his expression as he steps forward. Lily, you need this. His eyes are pleading. I shake my head again. Atlas, I swear. I squeeze my eyes shut and lower my head. I'm not covering for him this time, I whisper. He tried, but then he stopped. If you choose to press charges, you'll need— I don't want the exam, I say again, my voice firm. There's a knock on the door and a doctor enters, sparing me from more pleading looks from Atlas. The nurse gives the doctor a brief rundown of my injuries. She then steps aside as he examines my head and shoulder. He flashes a light into both of my eyes. He looks down at the paperwork again and says, I'd like to rule out a concussion, but given your situation, I don't want to administer a CT. We'd like to keep you for observation instead. Why don't you want to administer a CT? I ask him. The doctor stands up. We don't like to perform X-rays on pregnant women unless it's vital. We'll monitor you for complications, and if there are no further concerns, you'll be free to go. I don't hear anything beyond that. Nothing. The pressure begins to build in my head, my heart, my stomach. I grip the edges of the exam table I'm sitting on and I stare at the floor until they both leave the room. When the door closes behind them, I sit, suspended in frozen silence. I see Atlas move closer. His feet are almost touching mine. His fingers brush lightly over my back. Did you know? I release a quick breath and then drag in more air. I start shaking my head, and when his arms come down around me, I cry harder than I knew my body was even capable of. He holds me the entire time I cry. He holds me through my hatred. I did this to myself. I allowed this to happen to me. I am my mother. I want to leave, I whisper. Atlas pulls back. They want to monitor you, Lily. I think you should stay. I look up at him and shake my head. I need to get out of here, please. I want to leave. He nods and helps me back into my shoes. He pulls off his jacket and wraps it around me, then we walk out of the hospital without anyone noticing. He says nothing to me as we drive. I stare out the window, too exhausted to cry, too in shock to speak. I feel submerged. Just keep swimming. Atlas doesn't live in an apartment. He lives in a house, a small suburb outside of Boston called Wellesley, where all the homes are beautiful, sprawling, manicured, and expensive. Before we pull into his driveway, I wonder to myself if he ever married that girl, Cassie. I wonder what she'll think of her husband bringing home a girl he once loved who has just been attacked by her own husband. She'll pity me. She'll wonder why I never left him. She'll wonder how I let myself get to this point. She'll wonder all the same things I used to wonder about my own mother when I saw her in my same situation. People spend so much time wondering why the women don't leave. Where are all the people who wonder why the men are even abusive? Isn't that where the only blame should be placed? Atlas parks in the garage. There's not another vehicle here. I don't wait for him to help me out of the car. I open the door and get out on my own, and then I follow him into his house. He punches in a code on an alarm and then flips on a few lights. My eyes roam around the kitchen, the dining room, the living room. Everything is made of rich woods and stainless steel, and his kitchen is painted a calming bluish green, the color of the ocean. If I wasn't hurting so much, I would smile. Atlas kept swimming, and look at him now. He swam all the way to the fucking Caribbean. He moves to his refrigerator and pulls out a bottle of water, walking it over to me. He takes the lid off and hands it to me. I take a drink and watch as he turns the living room light on, then the hallway. "Do you live alone?" I ask. He nods as he walks back into the kitchen. "Are you hungry?" I shake my head. Even if I was, I wouldn't be able to eat. "I'll show you your room," he says. "There's a shower if you need it." I do. I want to wash the taste of scotch out of my mouth. I want to wash the sterile smell of the hospital off of me. I want to wash away the last 4 hours of my life. I follow him down the hallway into a spare bedroom where he flips on the light. There are 2 boxes on a bare bed and more stacked up against the walls. There's an oversized chair against one wall facing the door. He moves to the bed and takes off the boxes, setting them against the wall with the others. "I just moved in a few months ago. Haven't had much time to decorate yet." He walks to a dresser and pulls open a drawer. "I'll make the bed for you." He takes out sheets and a pillowcase. He begins making the bed as I walk inside the bathroom and close the door. I remain in the bathroom for 30 minutes. Some of those minutes are spent staring at my reflection in the mirror. Some of those minutes are spent in the shower. The rest are spent over the toilet as I make myself sick with thoughts of the last several hours. I'm wrapped in a towel when I crack the bathroom door. Atlas is no longer in the bedroom, but there are clothes folded on the freshly made bed. Men's pajama bottoms that are too big for me, and a t-shirt that goes past my knees. I pull the drawstring tight, tie it, and then crawl into bed. I turn the lamp off and pull the covers up and over me. I cry so hard I don't even make a noise. Chapter 25. I smell toast. I stretch out on my bed and smile because Ryle knows toast is my favorite. My eyes flick open and the clarity smashes down on me with the force of a head-on collision. I squeeze my eyes shut when I realize where I am and why I'm here, and that the toast I smell is not at all because my sweet and caring husband is making me breakfast in bed. I immediately want to cry again, so I force myself off the bed. I focus on the hollowness in my stomach as I use the bathroom and tell myself I can cry after I eat something. I need to eat before I make myself sick again. When I walk out of the bathroom and back into the bedroom, I notice the chair has been turned so that it's facing the bed now instead of the door. There's a blanket thrown over it haphazardly, and it's obvious Atlas was in here last night while I slept. He was probably worried I had a concussion. When I walk into the kitchen, Atlas is moving back and forth between the fridge, the stove, the counter. For the first time in 12 hours, I feel an inkling of something that isn't agony, because I remember he's a chef, a good one, and he's cooking me breakfast. He glances up at me as I make my way into the kitchen. "Morning," he says, careful to say it without too much inflection. "I hope you're hungry." He slides a glass and a container of orange juice across the counter toward me, then he turns and faces the stove again. "I am." He glances back over his shoulder and gives me a ghost of a smile. I pour myself a glass of orange juice and then walk to the other side of the kitchen where there's a breakfast nook. There's a newspaper on the table, and I begin to pick it up. When I see the article about the best businesses in Boston printed across the page, my hands immediately begin to shake, and I drop the paper back on the table. I close my eyes and take a slow sip of the orange juice. A few minutes later, Atlas sets a plate down in front of me, then claims the seat across from me at the table. He pulls his own plate of food in front of him and cuts into a crepe with his fork. I look down at my plate. 3 crepes, drizzled in syrup and garnished with a dab of whipped cream. Orange and strawberry slices line the right side of the plate. It's almost too pretty to eat, but I'm too hungry to care. I take a bite and close my eyes, trying not to make it obvious that it's the best bite of breakfast I've ever had. I finally allow myself to admit that his restaurant deserved that award. As much as I tried to talk Ryle and Elisa out of going back, it was the best restaurant I'd ever been to. "Where did you learn to cook?" I ask him. He sips from a cup of coffee. "The Marines," he says, placing the cup back down. "I trained for a while during my first stint, and then when I re-enlisted, I came on as a chef." He taps his fork against the side of his plate. "You like it?" I nod. "It's delicious, but you're wrong. You knew how to cook before you enlisted." He smiles. "You remember the cookies?" I nod again. "Best cookies I've ever eaten." He leans back in his chair. "I taught myself the basics. My mother worked second shift when I was growing up, so if I wanted dinner at night, I had to make it. It was either that or starve, so I bought a cookbook at a yard sale and made every single recipe in it over the course of a year. And I was only 13. I smile, shocked that I'm even able to. The next time someone asks you how you learned to cook, you should tell them that story, not the other one. He shakes his head. "You're the only person who knows anything about me before the age of 19. I'd like to keep it that way." He begins telling me about working as a chef in the military, how he saved up as much money as he could so that when he got out he could open his own restaurant. He started with a small cafe that did really well, then opened Bibs a year and a half ago. "It does okay," he says with modesty. I glance around his kitchen and then look back at him. Looks like it does more than just okay. He shrugs and takes another bite of his food. I don't talk after that as we finish eating because my mind wanders to his restaurant. The name of it, what he said in the interview. Then, of course, those thoughts lead me back to the thoughts of Ryle and the anger in his voice as he yelled the last line of the interview at me. I think Atlas can see the change in my demeanor, but he says nothing as he clears the table. When he takes another seat, he chooses the chair right next to me this time. He places a reassuring hand on top of mine. I have to go into work for a few hours, he says. I don't want you to leave. Stay here as long as you need, Lily. Just, please don't go back home today. I shake my head when I hear the concern in his words. I won't. I'll stay here, I tell him. I promise. Do you need anything before I go? I shake my head. I'll be fine. He stands up and grabs his jacket. I'll make it as quick as I can. I'll be back after lunch and I'll bring you something to eat, okay? I force a smile. He opens a drawer and pulls out a pen and paper. He writes something on it before he leaves. When he's gone, I stand up and walk to the counter to read what he wrote. He listed instructions for how to set the alarm. He wrote his cell phone number, even though I have it memorized. He also wrote down his work number, his home address, and his work address. At the bottom, in small print, he wrote, "Just keep swimming, Lily." Dear Ellen, hi, it's me, Lily Bloom. Well, technically it's Lily Kincaid now. I know it's been a long time since I've written to you. A really long time. After everything that happened with Atlas, I just couldn't bring myself to open up the journals again. I couldn't even bring myself to watch your show after school because it hurt to watch it alone. In fact, all thoughts of you kind of depressed me. When I thought of you, I thought of Atlas. And to be honest, I didn't want to think of Atlas, so I had to cut you out of my life too. I'm sorry about that. I'm sure you didn't miss me like I missed you, but sometimes the things that matter to you most are also the things that hurt you the most. And in order to get over that hurt, you have to sever all the extensions that keep you tethered to that pain. You were an extension of my pain, so I guess that's what I was doing. I was just trying to save myself a little bit of agony. I'm sure your show is as great as ever, though. I hear you still dance at the beginning of some episodes, but I've grown to appreciate that. I think that's one of the biggest signs a person has matured, knowing how to appreciate things that matter to others, even if they don't matter very much to you. I should probably catch you up on my life. My father died. I'm 24 now. I got a college degree, worked in marketing for a while, and now I own my own business. A floral shop. Life goals, FTW. I also have a husband, and he isn't Atlas. And I live in Boston. I know, shocker. The last time I wrote to you, I was 16. I was in a really bad place, and I was so worried about Atlas. I'm not worried about Atlas anymore, but I am in a really bad place right now. More so than the last time I wrote to you. I'm sorry I don't seem to need to write to you when I'm in a good place. You tend to only get the shit end of my life, but that's what friends are for, right? I don't even know where to start. I know you don't know anything about my current life or my husband, Ryle. But there's this thing we do where one of us says naked truth, and then we're forced to be brutally honest and say what we're really thinking. So, naked truth. Brace yourself. I am in love with a man who physically hurts me. Of all people, I have no idea how I let myself get to this point. There were many times growing up I wondered what was going through my mother's head in the days after my father had hurt her. How she could possibly love a man who had laid his hands on her. A man who repeatedly hit her, repeatedly promised he would never do it again, repeatedly hit her again. I hate that I can empathize with her now. I've been sitting on Atlas's couch for over 4 hours, wrestling with my feelings. I can't get a grip on them. I can't understand them. I don't know how to process them, and true to my past, I realize that maybe I need to just get them out on paper. My apologies to you, Ellen, But get ready for a whole lot of word vomit. If I had to compare this feeling to something, I would compare it to death. Not just the death of anyone, the death of the one. The person who is closer to you than anyone else in the whole world. The one who, when you simply imagine their death, it makes your eyes tear up. That's what this feels like. It feels like Ryle has died. It's an astronomical amount of grief, an enormous amount of pain. It's a sense that I've lost my best friend, my lover, my husband, my lifeline. But the difference between this feeling and death is the presence of another emotion that doesn't necessarily follow in the event of an actual death. Hatred. I am so angry at him, Ellen. Words can't express the amount of hatred I have for him. Yet somehow, in the midst of all my hatred, there are waves of reasoning that flow through me. I start to think things like, but I shouldn't have had the magnet. I should have told him about the tattoo from the beginning. I shouldn't have kept the journals. The reasoning is the hardest part of this. It eats at me, little by little, wearing down the strength my hatred lends to me. The reasoning forces me to imagine our future together, and how there are things I could do to prevent that type of anger. I'll never betray him again. I'll never keep secrets from him again. I'll never give him reason to react that way again. We'll both just have to work harder from now on. For better or for worse, right? I know these are the things that once went through my mother's head. But the difference between the two of us is that she had more to worry about. She didn't have the financial stability that I have. She didn't have the resources to leave and give me what she thought was a decent shelter. She didn't want to take me away from my father when I was used to living with both parents. I have a feeling reasoning really kicked her ass a time or two. I can't even begin to process the thought that I'm having a child with this man. There is a human being inside of me that we created together. And no matter which option I choose, whether I choose to stay or choose to leave, neither are choices I would wish upon my child. To grow up in a broken home or an abusive one. I've already failed this baby in life, and I've only known about his or her existence for a single day. Ellen, I wish you could write back to me. I wish that you could say something funny to me right now because my heart needs it. I have never felt this alone, this broken, this angry, this hurt. People on the outside of situations like these often wonder why the woman goes back to the abuser. I read somewhere once that 85% of women return to abusive situations. That was before I realized I was in one. And when I heard that statistic, I thought it was because the women were stupid. I thought it was because they were weak. I thought these things about my own mother more than once. But sometimes the reason women go back is simply because they're in love. I love my husband, Ellen. I love so many things about him. I wish cutting my feelings off for the person who hurt me was as easy as I used to think it would be. Preventing your heart from forgiving someone you love is actually a hell of a lot harder than simply forgiving them. I'm a statistic now. The things I've thought about women like me are now what others would think of me if they knew my current situation. How could she love him after what he did to her? How could she contemplate taking him back? It's sad that those are the first thoughts that run through our minds when someone is abused. Shouldn't there be more distaste in our mouths for the abusers than for those who continue to love the abusers? I think of all the people who have been in this situation before me, everyone who will be in this situation after me. Do we all repeat the same words in our heads in the days after experiencing abuse at the hands of those who love us? From this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and health, until death do us part. Maybe those vows weren't meant to be taken as literally as some spouses take them. For better, for worse, fuck that shit. Lily. Chapter 26. I'm lying on Atlas's guest bed, staring up at the ceiling. It's a normal bed, really comfortable actually. But it feels like I'm on a waterbed, or maybe a raft adrift at sea. And I scale over these huge waves, each of them carrying something different. Some are waves of sadness, some are waves of anger, some are waves of tears, some are waves of sleep. Occasionally, I'll place my hands on my stomach, and a tiny wave of love will come. I have no idea how I can already love something so much, but I do. I think about whether or not it'll be a boy or a girl, and what I'll name it. I wonder if it will look like me or Ryle. And then another wave of anger will come and crash down on that tiny wave of love. I feel robbed of the joy a mother should have when she finds out she's pregnant. I feel like Ryle took that from me last night, and it's just one more thing I have to hate him for. Hatred is exhausting. I force myself off the bed and into the shower. I've been in my room most of the day. Atlas returned home several hours ago, and I heard him open the door at one point to check on me, but I pretended to be asleep. I feel awkward being here. Atlas is the very reason Ryle was angry at me last night, yet he's the one I ran to when I needed help. Being here fills me with guilt, maybe even a little bit of shame, as though my calling Atlas lends credibility to Ryle's anger. But there's literally nowhere I can go right now. I need a couple of days to process things, and if I go to a hotel, Ryle could track the credit card charge and find me. He'd be able to find me at my mother's, at Elisa's, at Lucy's. He's even met Devon a couple of times and would more than likely go there too. I can't see him tracking down Atlas, though. Yet. I'm sure if I go a week avoiding his calls and texts, he'll look everywhere he can possibly look to find me. But for now, I don't think he would show up here. Maybe that's why I'm here. I feel safer here than anywhere else I could possibly go, and Atlas has an alarm system, so there's that. I glance at the nightstand to look at my phone. I skip over all the missed texts from Ryle and open the one from Elisa. Elisa. Hey, Aunt Lily. They're sending us home tonight. Come see us tomorrow when you get home from work. She sent a picture of her and Riley, and it makes me smile, then cry. Damn these emotions. I wait until my eyes are dry again before I walk into the living room. Atlas is sitting at his kitchen table, working on his laptop. When he looks up at me, he smiles and closes it. Hey. I force a smile and then look in the kitchen. Do you have anything to eat? Atlas stands up quickly. Yeah, he says. Yeah, sit down. I'll get something ready for you. I take a seat on the couch as he works his way around the kitchen. The television is on, but it's muted. I unmute it and click on the DVR. He has a few shows recorded, but the one that catches my eye is the Ellen DeGeneres show. I smile and click on the most recent unwatched episode and hit play. Atlas brings me a bowl of pasta and a glass of ice water. He glances at the TV and then sits down next to me on the couch. For the next 3 hours, we watch a full week's worth of episodes. I laugh out loud 6 times. It feels good, but when I take a bathroom break and come back to the living room, the weight of it all starts to sink in again. I sit back down on the couch next to Atlas. He's leaning back with his feet propped up on the coffee table. I naturally lean into him, and just like he used to do when we were teenagers, he pulls me against his chest, and we just sit there in silence. His thumb brushes the outside of my shoulder, and I know it's his unspoken way of saying he's here for me, that he feels bad for me. And for the first time since he picked me up last night, I feel like talking about it. My head is resting against his shoulder, and my hands are in my lap. I'm fidgeting with the drawstring on the pants that are way too big for me. Atlas, I say, my voice barely a whisper. I'm sorry I got so angry at you that night at the restaurant. You were right. Deep down, I knew you were right, but I didn't want to believe it. I lift my head and look at him, cracking a pitiful smile. You can say I told you so now. His eyebrows draw together like my words somehow hurt him. Lily, this is not something I wanted to be right about. I prayed every day that I was wrong about him. I wince. I shouldn't have said that to him. I know better than to think Atlas would ever think something like, I told you so. He squeezes my shoulder and leans forward, kissing the top of my head. I close my eyes as I soak up the familiarity of him, his smell, his touch, his comfort. I've never understood how someone can be so rock solid yet comforting. But that's always how I've viewed him. Like he could withstand anything, but somehow still feels the weight that everyone else carries. I don't like that I was never fully able to let go of him, no matter how hard I tried. I think about the fight with Ryle over Atlas's phone number. The fight about the magnet, the article, the things he read in my journal, the tattoo. None of that would have happened if I would have just let go of Atlas and thrown it all away. Ryle wouldn't have had anything to be so upset with me about. I pull my hands up to my face after that thought, upset that there's a part of me trying to blame Ryle's reaction on my lack of closure with Atlas. There's no excuse. None. This is just another wave I'm being forced to ride on, a wave of complete and utter confusion. Atlas can feel the change in my composure. You okay? I'm not. I'm not okay, because until this moment, I had no idea how hurt I still am that he never came back for me. If he'd have just come back for me like he promised, I would have never even met Ryle, and I would have never been in this situation. Yep, I'm definitely confused. How am I possibly lending blame to Atlas for any of this? I think I need to call it a night, I say quietly, pulling away from him. I stand up and Atlas stands up too. I'll be gone most of the day tomorrow, he says. Will you be here when I get home? I cringe at his question. Of course, he wants me to get my shit together and find another place to stay. What am I even still doing here? No, I can get a hotel, it's fine. I turn to walk toward the hallway, but he puts a hand on my shoulder. Lily, he says, turning me around. I wasn't asking you to leave. I was just making sure you'd still be here. I want you to stay as long as you need to. His eyes are sincere, and if I didn't think it would be a little inappropriate, I would throw my arms around him and hug him. Because I'm not ready to leave yet. Just a couple more days before I'm forced to figure out what my next step is. I nod. I need to go into work for a few hours tomorrow, I tell him. There are some things I need to take care of. But if you really don't mind, I'd like to stay here for a few more days. I don't mind, Lily. I'd prefer it. I force a smile and then head to the guest bedroom. At least he's giving me a buffer before I'm forced to confront everything. As much as his presence in my life confuses me right now, I've never been more thankful for him. Chapter 27. My hand is trembling when I reach for the doorknob. I've never once been scared to walk into my own business before, but I've also never been this on edge. The building is dark when I enter it, so I flip on the lights, holding my breath. I walk slowly to my office, pushing the door open with caution. He's nowhere, yet he's everywhere. When I take a seat at my desk, I turn on my phone for the first time since I went to bed last night. I wanted a good night's sleep without having to worry about whether or not Ryle was trying to contact me. When it powers on, I have 29 missed texts from Ryle. It just so happens to be the same number of doors Ryle knocked on to find my apartment last year. I don't know whether to laugh or cry at the irony. I spend the rest of the day like this, glancing over my shoulder, looking up at the door every time it opens. I wonder if he's ruined me, if the fear of him will ever leave me. Half a day goes by without a single phone call from him while I catch up on paperwork. Elisa calls me after lunch, and I can tell by her voice that she has no idea about the fight Ryle and I had. I let her talk about the baby for a while before I pretend I have a customer and hang up. I plan on leaving when Lucy returns from her lunch break. She has half an hour left. Ryle walks through the front door 3 minutes later. I'm the only one here. As soon as I see him, I turn stone cold. I'm standing behind the counter, my hand on the cash register, because it's close to the stapler. I'm sure a stapler couldn't do much harm against the arms of a neurosurgeon, but I'll use what I have. He slowly makes his way to the counter. It's the first time I've seen him since he was on top of me on our bed the other night. My whole body is immediately taken back to that moment, and I'm engulfed in the same level of emotions as I was in that moment. Both fear and anger rush through me when he reaches the counter. He lifts his hand and places a set of keys on the counter in front of me. My eyes fall to the keys. I'm leaving for England tonight, he says. I'll be gone for 3 months. I paid all the bills, so you won't have to worry about it while I'm gone. His voice is composed, but I can see the veins in his neck as they prove his composure is taking all the effort he has. You need time. He swallows hard. And I want to give that to you. He grimaces and pushes the keys to my apartment toward me. Go back home, Lily. I won't be there. I promise. He turns and begins walking toward the door. It occurs to me that he didn't even try to apologize. I'm not angry about it. I understand it. He knows that an apology will never take back what he did. He knows that the best thing for us right now is separation. He knows what a huge mistake he made, yet I still feel the need to dig that knife in a little deeper. Ryle. He looks back at me, and it's as if he puts a shield up between us. He doesn't turn all the way around, and he's stiff as he waits for whatever I'm about to say. He knows my words are going to hurt him. You know what the worst part about this whole thing is? I ask. He doesn't say anything. He just stares at me, waiting for my answer. All you had to do when you found my journal was ask me for a naked truth. I would have been honest with you. But you didn't. You chose to not ask for my help, and now we'll both have to suffer the consequences of your actions for the rest of our lives. He grimaces with every word. Lily, he says, turning toward me. I hold up my hand to stop him from saying anything else. Don't. You can leave now. Have fun in England. I can see the war waging inside of him. He knows he can't get anywhere with me in this moment, no matter how hard he wants to beg for my forgiveness. He knows the only choice he has is to turn and walk out that door, even though it's the last thing he wants to do. When he finally forces himself out the door, I run and lock it. I slide down to the floor and hug my knees, burying my face against them. I'm shaking so hard I can feel my teeth chatter. I can't believe part of that man is growing inside me, and I can't believe I'll one day have to admit that to him. Chapter 28. After Ryle left me his keys this afternoon, I debated going back to our new apartment. I even had a cab pull up to the building, but I couldn't force myself out of the car. I knew if I went back there today, I'd probably see Elisa at some point. I'm not ready to explain the stitches on my forehead to her. I'm not ready to see the kitchen where Ryle's harsh words cut through me. I'm not ready to walk into the bedroom where I was completely destroyed. So instead of returning to my own home, I took the cab back to Atlas's house. It feels like my only safe zone right now. I don't have to confront things when I'm hiding out here. Atlas has already texted me twice today, checking on me, so when I get a text a few minutes before 7 o'clock in the evening, I assume it's from him. It's not. It's from Elisa. Elisa, you home from work yet? Come up and visit us. I'm already bored. My heart sinks when I read her text. She has no idea what happened between me and Ryle. I wonder if Ryle even told her he left for England today. My thumb types and erases and types some more as I try to come up with a good excuse as to why I'm not there. Me. I can't. I'm in the emergency room. Hit my head on that shelf in the storage room at work, getting stitches. I hate that I lied to her, but it'll save me from having to explain the cut and also why I'm not home right now. Elisa, oh no, are you alone? Marshall can come sit with you since Ryle is gone. Okay, so she knows Ryle left for England. That's good, and she thinks we're fine. This is good. That means I have at least 3 months before I have to tell her the truth. Look at me, sweeping shit under the rug, just like my mother. Me, no, I'm fine. I'll be finished up by the time Marshall could even get here. I'll come by tomorrow after work. Give Riley a kiss for me. I lock the screen on my phone and set it on my bed. It's dark outside now, so I immediately see the scroll of the headlights as someone pulls into the driveway. I instantly know that it isn't Atlas because he uses the driveway to the side of the house and parks in the garage. My heart begins to race as fear rushes through me. Is it Ryle? Did he find out where Atlas lives? Moments later, there's a loud knock at the front door, more like pounding. The doorbell also rings. I tiptoe to the window and barely move the curtains over far enough to take a look outside. I can't see who's at the door, but there's a truck in the driveway. It doesn't belong to Ryle. Could it be Atlas's girlfriend? Cassie? I grab my phone and make my way down the hallway toward the living room. The pounding on the door and the chime of the doorbell are still going off simultaneously. Whoever is at the door is being ridiculously impatient. If it is Cassie, I already find her extremely annoying. Atlas, a guy yells, open the damn door. Another voice, also male, yells, my balls are freezing up. They're raisins, man. Open the door. Before I open the door and let them know Atlas isn't home, I text him, hoping he's about to pull in the driveway and deal with this himself. Me. Where are you? There are 2 men at your front door, and I have no idea if I should let them in. I wait through more presses of the doorbell and more pounding, but Atlas doesn't immediately text me back. I finally walk to the door and leave the chain bolted, but unlock the deadbolt and open the door a few inches. One of the guys is tall, about 6 feet or so. Despite the youthful look to his face, his hair is salt and pepper, black with a little bit of gray sprinkled in. The other one is shorter by a few inches, with sandy brown hair and a baby face. They both look to be in their late 20s, maybe early 30s. The tall one's face twists into confusion. "Who are you?" he asks, peeking through the door. "Lily, who are you?" The shorter one pushes in front of the taller one. "Is Atlas here?" I don't want to tell them no, because then they'll know I'm here alone. I don't necessarily hold much trust in the male population this week. The phone in my hand rings and all three of us jump from the unexpectedness of it. It's Atlas. I swipe the answer button and bring it to my ear. "Hello?" "It's fine, Lily. They're just friends of mine. I forgot it was Friday. We always play poker on Fridays. I'll call them now and tell them to leave." I look back at the two of them, and they're just standing there watching me. I feel bad that Atlas feels like he has to cancel his plans just because I'm crashing at his house. I shut the door and unlock the deadbolt, then open the door again, motioning them inside. "It's fine, Atlas. You don't have to cancel your plans. I was about to go to bed anyway." "No, I'm on my way. I'll have them leave." I still have the phone pressed to my ear when the two men enter the living room. "See you soon," I say to Atlas, and then end the call. The next few seconds are awkward as the guys assess me and I assess them. "What are your names?" "I'm Darren," the tall one says. "Brad," the shorter one says. "Lily," I say to them, even though I already told them my name. "Atlas will be here soon." I move to close the door and they seem to relax a little. Darren heads into the kitchen and helps himself to Atlas's refrigerator. Brad takes off his jacket and hangs it up. "Do you know how to play poker, Lily?" I shrug. "It's been a few years, but I used to play with friends in college." Both of them walk toward the dining room table. "What happened to your head?" Darren asks as he takes a seat. He asks it so casually, like it doesn't even cross his mind that it might be a sensitive subject. I don't know why I have an urge to give him the naked truth. Maybe I just want to see how someone will react when they find out my own husband did this to me. My husband happened. We got into a fight 2 nights ago and he headbutted me. Atlas took me to the emergency room. They gave me 6 stitches and told me I was pregnant. Now I'm hiding out here until I figure out what to do. Poor Darren is frozen, halfway between standing and sitting. He has no idea how to respond to that. Based on the look on his face, I think he's convinced I'm crazy. Brad pulls out his chair and takes a seat, pointing at me. "You should get some Rodin and Fields. The amp roller works wonders for scarring." I immediately laugh at his random response. Somehow. "Jesus, Brad," Darren says, finally sinking into his seat. "You're worse than your wife with this direct sales shit. You're like a walking infomercial." Brad raises his hands in defense. "What?" he says innocently. "I'm not trying to sell or anything. I'm being honest. The stuff works. You'd know that if you'd use it on your damn acne." "Screw you," Darren says. "It's like you're trying to be a perpetual teenager," Brad mutters. "Acne isn't cool when you're 30. Brad pulls out the chair next to him while Darren begins shuffling a deck of cards. "Have a seat, Lily. One of our friends decided to be an idiot and get married last week, and now his wife won't let him come to poker night anymore. You can be his fill-in until he gets a divorce." I had every intention of hiding out in my room tonight, but these two make it hard to walk away. I take a seat next to Brad and reach across the table. "Hand me those," I say to Darren. He's shuffling the cards like a one-armed infant. He raises an eyebrow and pushes the deck of cards across the table. I don't know much about card games, but I can shuffle cards like a pro. I separate the cards into 2 piles and scoot them together, pressing my thumbs to the ends, watching as they beautifully intertwine. Darren and Brad are staring at the deck of cards when there's another knock on the door. This time, the door swings open without pause, and a guy walks in dressed in what looks like a very expensive tweed jacket. There's a scarf wrapped around his neck, and he begins to unwind it as soon as he slams the door behind him. He nudges his head in my direction as he walks toward the kitchen. "Who are you?" He's older than the other 2, probably in his mid-40s. Atlas definitely has an interesting mix of friends. "This is Lily," Brad says. "She's married to an asshole and just found out she's pregnant with the asshole's baby. Lily, this is Jimmy. He's pompous and arrogant." "Pompous and arrogant are the same thing, idiot," Jimmy says. He pulls out the chair next to Darren and nudges his head at the cards in my hands. "Did Atlas plant you here to hustle us? What kind of average person knows how to shuffle cards like that?" I smile and begin to pass cards out to each of them. I guess we'll have to play around to find out. We're on our 3rd round of bets when Atlas finally walks in. He closes the door behind him and looks around at the 4 of us. Brad said something funny right before Atlas opened the door, so I'm in the middle of a fit of laughter when Atlas locks eyes with me. He nods his head toward the kitchen and begins walking in that direction. "Fold," I say, laying my cards flat on the table as I stand up to follow him. When I get to the kitchen, he's standing where he isn't visible to the guys at the table. I walk over to him and lean against the counter. "You want me to ask them to leave?" I shake my head. "No, don't do that. I'm actually enjoying it. It's keeping my mind off things." He nods, and I can't help but notice how he smells like herbs, rosemary specifically. It makes me wish I could see him in action at his restaurant. "You hungry?" he asks. I shake my head. "Not really. I ate some leftover pasta a couple hours ago." My hands are pressed into the counter on either side of me. He takes a step closer and puts one of his hands over mine, brushing his thumb across the top of it. I know he doesn't mean for it to be anything more than a comforting gesture, but when he touches me, it feels like a whole lot more. A rush of warmth moves up my chest, and I immediately drop my eyes to our hands. Atlas pauses his thumb for a second like he feels it too. He pulls his hand away and backs up a step. "Sorry," he mutters, turning toward the refrigerator, pretending to look for something. It's obvious he's trying to spare me from the awkwardness of what just happened. I walk back to the table and pick up my cards for the next round. A couple of minutes later, Atlas walks over and takes the seat next to me. Jimmy shuffles out a round of new cards to everyone. "So, Atlas, how do you and Lily know each other?" Atlas picks up his cards one at a time. "Lily saved my life when we were kids," he says, matter of fact. He glances over at me and winks, and I drown in guilt for the way that wink makes me feel, especially at a time like this. Why is my heart doing this to me? "Aw, that's sweet," Brad says. "Lily saved your life, now you're saving hers." Atlas lowers his cards and glares at Brad. "Excuse me?" "Relax," Brad says. "Me and Lily are tight. She knows I'm kidding." Brad looks at me. "Your life might be complete crap right now, Lily, but it'll get better. Trust me, I've been there." Darren laughs. "You've been beat up and pregnant and hiding out at another man's house?" he says to Brad. Atlas slaps his cards on the table and pushes back in his chair. "What the hell is wrong with you?" he yells at Darren. I reach over and squeeze his arm reassuringly. "Relax," I say. "We bonded before you got here. I actually don't mind that they're making light of my situation. It really does make it a little less heavy." He runs a frustrated hand through his hair, shaking his head. "I'm so confused," he says. You were alone with them for 10 minutes. I laugh. You can learn a lot about someone in 10 minutes. I try to redirect the conversation. So, how do you all know each other? Darren leans forward and points at himself. I'm the sous chef at Bibbs. He points at Brad. He's the dishwasher. For now, Brad interjects. I'm working my way up. What about you? I say to Jimmy. He smirks and says, Take a guess. Based on the way he dresses and the fact that he's been called arrogant and pompous, I'd have to assume... Maitre d'? Atlas laughs. Jimmy actually works in valet. I glance back at Jimmy and raise an eyebrow. He tosses 3 poker chips down and says, It's true, I park cars for tips. Don't let him fool you, Atlas says. He works in valet, but only because he's so rich he gets bored. I smile. It reminds me of Elisa. I have an employee like that. Only works because she's bored. She's actually the best employee I have. Damn straight, Jimmy mutters. I take a look at my cards when it's my turn and toss in the 3 poker chips. Atlas's phone rings and he pulls it out of his pocket. I'm raising the pot with another chip when he excuses himself from the table to take the call. Fold, Brad says, slapping his cards on the table. I'm watching the hallway Atlas just disappeared down in a hurry. It makes me wonder if he's talking to Cassie or if there's someone else in his life. I know what he does for a living. I know he has at least 3 friends. I just know nothing about his love life. Darren lays his cards on the table, 4 of a kind. I lay down my straight flush and reach forward for all the poker chips as Darren groans. So, does Cassie not usually come to poker night? I ask, fishing for more information on Atlas. Information I'm too scared to ask him myself. Cassie? Brad says. I stack my winnings up in front of me and nod. Isn't that his girlfriend's name? Darren laughs. Atlas doesn't have a girlfriend. I've known him for 2 years and he's never mentioned anyone named Cassie. He begins passing out new cards, but I'm trying to absorb the information he just gave me. I pick up my first 2 cards when Atlas walks back into the room. Hey, Atlas, Jimmy says. Who the hell is Cassie, and how come we've never heard you talk about her? Oh, shit. I'm completely mortified. I tighten my grip around the cards in my hands and try to avoid looking up at Atlas. The room grows so quiet it would be more obvious if I didn't look at him. He's staring at Jimmy. Jimmy is staring at him. Brad and Darren are staring at me. Atlas folds his lips together for a moment and then says, There is no Cassie. His eyes meet mine, but only for a brief second. But in that brief second, I can see it written all over his face. There never was a Cassie. He lied to me. Atlas clears his throat and then says, Listen, guys, I should have canceled tonight. This week has been kind of... He rubs his hand over his mouth and Jimmy stands up. He squeezes Atlas on the shoulder and says, Next week. My place. Atlas nods appreciatively. The 3 of them begin to gather their cards and poker chips. Brad pries my cards from my fingers apologetically because I'm unable to move as I clutch them tightly. It was lovely to meet you, Lily, Brad says. I somehow find the strength to smile and stand up. I give them all hugs goodbye, and after the front door closes behind them, it's just me and Atlas in the room. And no Cassie. Cassie's never even been in this room because Cassie doesn't exist. What the hell? Atlas hasn't moved from his spot near the table. Neither have I. He's standing firm with his arms folded across his chest. His head is slightly tilted down, but his eyes are boring into me from across the table. Why would he lie to me? Ryle and I weren't even an official couple yet when I ran into Atlas at that restaurant the first time. Hell, if Atlas had given me any reason to believe there was a chance between us that night, I know without a doubt that I would have chosen him over Ryle. I barely even knew Ryle at that point. But Atlas didn't say anything. He lied to me and told me he'd been in a relationship for an entire year. Why? Why would he do that unless he didn't want me to think I had a chance with him? Maybe I've been wrong all this time. Maybe he never even loved me to begin with, and he knew that inventing this Cassie person would keep me away from him for good. Yet, here I am, crashing at his house, interacting with his friends, eating his food, using his shower. I can feel the tears begin to sting my eyes, and the last thing I want is to stand in front of him and cry right now. I walk around the table and rush past him. I don't make it far when he grabs my hand. Wait. I stop, still facing the other direction. Talk to me, Lily. He's right behind me now, his hand still wrapped around mine. I pull it away from him and walk to the other side of the living room. I spin and face him just as the first tear rolls down my cheek. Why did you never come back for me? He looked prepared for anything to come out of my mouth other than the words I just spoke to him. He runs a hand through his hair and walks to the couch, taking a seat. After blowing out a calming breath, he carefully looks over at me. I did, Lily. I don't allow air to move in or out of my lungs. I stand completely still, processing his answer. He came back for me? He folds his hands together in front of him. When I got out of the Marines the first time, I went back to Maine, hoping to find you. I asked around and found out which college you went to. I wasn't sure what to expect when I showed up, because we were two different people by then. It had been 4 years since we saw each other. I knew a lot about both of us had probably changed in those 4 years. My knees feel weak, so I walk to the chair next to him and lower myself. He came back for me? I walked around your campus the whole day looking for you. Finally, late that afternoon, I saw you. You were sitting in the courtyard with a group of your friends. I watched you for a long time, trying to work up the courage to walk over to you. You were laughing. You looked happy. You were vibrant, like I'd never seen you before. I had never felt that kind of happiness for another person like I felt when I saw you that day. Just knowing you were okay. He pauses for a moment. My hands are clenched around my stomach because it hurts. It hurts knowing I was so close to him, and I didn't even know. I began walking toward you when someone came up behind you. A guy. He dropped to his knees next to you, and when you saw him, you smiled and threw your arms around him. Then you kissed him. I close my eyes. He was just a boy I dated for 6 months. He never even made me feel a fraction of what I had felt for Atlas. He blows out a sharp breath. I left after that. When I saw that you were happy, it was the worst and best feeling a person could ever have at once. But I believed at that point that my life was still not good enough for you. I had nothing to offer you but love, and to me, you deserved more than that. The next day I signed up for another tour in the Marines, and now? He tosses his hand up lazily in the air, like nothing about his life is impressive. I bury my head in my hands to take a moment. I quietly grieve what could have been, what is, what wasn't. My fingers move to the tattoo on my shoulder. I begin to wonder if I'll ever be able to fill in that hole now. It makes me wonder if Atlas ever feels like I felt when I got this tattoo, like all the air is being let out of his heart. I still don't understand why he lied to me after running into me at his restaurant. If he really felt the things I felt for him, why would he make something like that up? Why did you lie about having a girlfriend? He rubs a hand over his face, and I can already see the regret before I even hear it in his voice. I said that because you looked happy that night. When I saw you telling him goodbye, it hurt like hell. But at the same time, I was relieved that you seemed to be in a really good place. I didn't want you to worry about me. And I don't know. Maybe I was a little jealous. I don't know, Lily. I regretted lying to you as soon as I did it. My hand goes to my mouth. My mind starts to race just as fast as my heart is racing. I instantly start thinking about the what-ifs. What if he would have been honest with me, told me how he'd felt? Where would we be now? I want to ask him why he did it, why he didn't fight for me. But I don't have to ask him because I already know the answer. He thought he was giving me what I wanted because all he's ever wanted from me was happiness. And for some stupid reason, he's never felt I could get that with him. Consider it, Atlas. The more I think about it, the more difficult it becomes to breathe. I think about Atlas, Ryle, tonight, 2 nights ago. It's too much. I stand up and make my way back to the guest bedroom. I pick up my phone and grab my purse and go back to the living room. Atlas hasn't moved. Ryle left for England today, I say. I think I should probably go home now. Can you drive me? A sadness enters his eyes, and when it does, I know that leaving is the right thing to do. Neither of us has closure. I'm not sure we'll ever get it. I'm beginning to think closure is a myth, and being here right now while I'm still processing everything that's happening to my life is just going to make things worse for me. I have to eliminate as much confusion as possible, and right now, my feelings for Atlas top the list of most confusing. He presses his lips tightly together for a moment, and then he nods and grabs his keys. Neither of us speaks the entire drive to my apartment. He doesn't drop me off. He pulls into the parking lot and gets out of his car. I'd feel better if you let me walk you up, he says. I nod and we wade through even more silence as we ride the elevator up to the 7th floor. He follows me all the way to my apartment. I fish around in my purse for the keys and don't even realize my hands are shaking until my 3rd failed attempt to open the door. Atlas calmly takes the keys from me and I step aside as he opens the door for me. Do you want me to make sure no one's here? He asks. I nod. I know Ryle isn't here because he's on his way to England, but I'm honestly still a little scared to walk into the apartment by myself. Atlas walks in before me and flips on the lights. He continues walking through the apartment, flipping on all the lights and walking into each of the rooms. When he makes it back to the living room, he slides his hands in his jacket pockets. He takes a deep breath and then says, I don't know what happens next, Lily. He does. He knows. He just doesn't want it to happen, because we both know how much it hurts to say goodbye to each other. I look away from him because seeing the look on his face right now cuts straight to my heart. I fold my arms over my chest and stare at the floor. I have a lot to work through, Atlas. A lot. And I'm scared I won't be able to do it with you in my life. I lift my eyes back to his. I hope you don't take offense to that because, if anything, it's a compliment. He regards me silently for a moment, not at all surprised by what I'm saying. But I can see there's so much he wants to say. There's a lot I wish I could say to him, too, but we both know discussing the two of us isn't appropriate at this point. I'm married. I'm pregnant with another man's baby. And he's standing in the living room of an apartment that another man bought for me. I'd say These aren't very good conditions in which to bring up all the things we should have said to each other a long time ago. He looks at the door momentarily as if he's trying to decide to leave or speak. I can see the twitch in his jaw right before he locks eyes with me. "If you ever need me, I want you to call me," he says, "but only if it's an emergency. I'm not capable of being casual with you, Lily." I'm taken aback by his words, but only momentarily. As much as I wasn't expecting him to admit it, he's absolutely right. Since the day we met, there has been nothing casual about our relationship. It's either all in or not in at all. That's why he separated ties when he left for the military. He knew that a casual friendship would never work between us. It would have been too painful. Apparently, that hasn't changed. Goodbye, Atlas. Saying those words again tears me up almost as much as the first time I had to say them. He winces and then turns and walks to the door like he can't leave fast enough. When the door closes behind him, I walk over and lock it, then press my head against it. 2 days ago, I was asking myself how my life could possibly get any better. Today, I'm asking myself how it could possibly get any worse. I jump back with a sudden knock at the door. It's only been 10 seconds since he walked out, so I know it's Atlas. I unlock it and open it, and I'm suddenly pressed against something soft. Atlas's arms wrap tightly around me, desperately, and his lips are pressed against the side of my head. I squeeze my eyes shut and finally let the tears fall. I've cried so many tears for Ryle over the past 2 days, I have no idea how I still have any left for Atlas. But I do, because they're falling down my cheeks like rain. "Lily," he whispers, still holding me tightly. "I know this is the last thing you need to hear right now, but I have to say it because I've walked away from you too many times without saying what I really want to say." He pulls back to look down at me, and when he sees my tears, he brings his hands up to my cheeks. "In the future, if by some miracle you ever find yourself in the position to fall in love again, fall in love with me." He presses his lips against my forehead. "You're still my favorite person, Lily. Always will be." He releases me and walks away, not even needing a response. When I close the door again, I slide to the floor. My heart feels like it wants to give up. I don't blame it. It's suffered through 2 separate heartaches in the course of 2 days. And I have a feeling it's going to be a long time before either of those heartaches can even begin to heal. Chapter 29. Elisa drops onto the couch beside me and Riley. "I miss you so much, Lily," she says. "I'm thinking about coming back to work a day or 2 a week." I laugh, a little shocked by her comment. "I live downstairs and I visit almost every day. How can you possibly miss me?" She pouts as she pulls her legs up beneath her. "Fine, it's not you I miss work. And sometimes I just want out of this house." It's been 6 weeks since she had Riley, so I'm sure she would be cleared to come back to work. But I honestly didn't think she'd even want to come back now that she has Riley. I bend forward and give Riley a kiss on her nose. "Would you bring Riley with you?" Elisa shakes her head. "No, you keep me too busy for that. Marshall can watch her while I work." "You mean you don't have people for that?" Marshall is passing through the living room when he hears me say that. "Shush, Lily. Don't speak like a rich girl in front of my daughter. Blasphemy." I laugh. That's why I come over here a few nights a week, because it's the only time I laugh. It's been 6 weeks since Ryle left for England, and no one knows what happened between us. Ryle hasn't told anyone, and neither have I. Everyone, my mother included, believes he simply left for the study at Cambridge and that nothing has changed between us. I also still haven't told anyone about the pregnancy. I've been to the doctor twice. It turns out I was already 12 weeks along the night I found out I was pregnant, which makes me 18 weeks along now. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. I've been on the pill since I was 18. Apparently, being forgetful a few times caught up with me. I'm beginning to show, but it's cold out, so it's been easy to hide. No one suspects a thing when you have on a baggy sweater and a jacket. I know I need to tell someone soon, but I feel like Ryle should be the first one I tell, and I don't want to do that over a long-distance phone conversation. He'll be back in 6 weeks. If I can somehow keep things quiet until then, I'll decide where to go from there. I look down at Riley, and she's smiling up at me. I make silly faces at her to make her smile more. There have been so many times I've wanted to tell Elisa about the pregnancy, but it makes it hard when the secret I'm keeping is being kept from her own brother. I don't want to put her in that kind of situation, no matter how much it kills me that I can't talk to her about it. "How are you holding up without Ryle?" Elisa asks. "You ready for him to come home?" I nod, but I don't say anything. I always try to brush off the subject when she brings him up. Elisa leans back into the couch and says, "Is he still liking Cambridge?" "Yes," I say, sticking my tongue out at Riley. She grins. "I wonder if my baby will look like her. I hope so. She's really cute, but I might be a little partial." "Did he ever figure out the subway system there?" Elisa laughs. "I swear, every time I talk to him, he's lost. He can't figure out whether to take the A line or the B line." "Yeah," I tell her. "He figured it out." Elisa sits up on the couch. "Marshall!" Marshall walks into the living room, and Elisa pulls Riley out of my hands. She hands her to Marshall and says, "Will you change your diaper?" I don't know why she asks him that. I just changed her diaper. Marshall scrunches up his nose and lifts Riley out of Elisa's arms. "Are you a stinky girl?" They're wearing matching onesies. Elisa grabs my hands and yanks me off the couch so fast I squeal. "Where are we going?" She doesn't answer me. She marches toward her bedroom and then slams the door once we're both inside. She paces back and forth a few times, and then she stops and faces me. "You better tell me what the hell is going on right now, Lily." I pull back in shock. What is she talking about? My hands instantly go to my stomach because I think maybe she's noticed, but she doesn't look at my stomach. She takes a step forward and pokes a finger in my chest. "There is no subway system in Cambridge, England, you idiot." "What?" I am so confused. "I made that up," she says. "Something hasn't been right with you for a long time. You're my best friend, Lily, and I know my brother. I talk to him every week, and he isn't the same. Something happened between you two, and I want to know what it is right now." Shit. I guess this is happening sooner rather than later. I slowly bring my hands up to my mouth, not sure what to tell her, how much to tell her. I had no idea until this moment how much it's been killing me that I haven't been able to talk to her about this. I almost feel a little relieved that she reads me so well. I walk to her bed and take a seat on it. "Elisa," I whisper. "Sit down." I know this is going to hurt her almost as much as it hurt me. She walks over to her bed and sits down next to me, pulling my hands to hers. I don't even know where to start. She squeezes my hands but says nothing. For the next 15 minutes, I tell her everything. I tell her about the fight. I tell her about Atlas picking me up. I tell her about the hospital. I tell her about the pregnancy. I tell her about how, for the last 6 weeks, I cry myself to sleep every night because I have never felt so alone and so scared. When I'm finished telling her everything, we're both crying. She hasn't responded to what I've told her with anything other than the occasional, "Oh, Lily." She doesn't have to respond, though. Ryle is her brother. I know she wants me to take his past into consideration just like the last time it happened. I know she'll want me to work things out with him because he's her brother. We're supposed to be one big, happy family. I know exactly what she's thinking. She's quiet for a long time as she struggles through everything I've told her. She finally lifts her eyes to mine and squeezes my hands. My brother loves you, Lily. He loves you so much. You have changed his entire life and have made him someone that I never thought he could be. As his sister, I wish more than anything that you could find a way to forgive him. But as your best friend, I have to tell you that if you take him back, I will never speak to you again. It takes a moment for her words to register, but when they do, I start sobbing. She starts sobbing. She wraps her arms around me and we cry over the mutual love we have for Ryle. We cry over how much we hate him right now. After several minutes of us sobbing pathetically on her bed, she releases me and walks over to her dresser to retrieve a box of tissues. We're both wiping our eyes and sniffling when I say, "You're the best friend I've ever had." She nods. "I know. And now I'm going to be the best aunt." She wipes her nose and sniffles again, but she's smiling. "Lily, you're having a baby." She says it with excitement, and it's the first moment I've been able to share any sense of joy over my pregnancy. "I hate to say it, but I noticed you put on weight. I thought you were just depressed and eating a lot since Ryle left." She walks to the back of her closet and starts pulling things out for me. "I have so many maternity clothes to give you." We start going through clothes and she pulls down a suitcase and opens it. She begins to throw things toward the suitcase until it starts to overflow. "I could never wear these," I tell her, holding up a shirt that still has the tag on it. "They're all designer. I'll get them dirty." She laughs and shoves them into the suitcase anyway. "I won't need them back. If I get pregnant again, I'll just have my people buy me more." She pulls a shirt off a hanger and hands it to me. "Here, try this one on." I take my shirt off and then pull the maternity shirt over my head. When I get it into place, I look in the mirror. I look pregnant. Like, you can't hide this shit pregnant. She puts a hand on my stomach and stares in the mirror with me. "Have you found out if it's a boy or a girl?" I shake my head. "I don't really want to know." "I hope it's a girl," she says. "Our daughters can be besties." "Lily?" We both spin around to find Marshall standing in the doorway. His eyes are on my stomach, on Elisa's hand still on my stomach. He tilts his head. He points at me. "You," he says, confused. "Lily, do you realize you're pregnant?" Elisa calmly walks to the door and puts her hand on the doorknob. "There are some things that you are never, ever to repeat if you want to keep me as your wife. This is one of those things. Understood?" Marshall raises his eyebrows and takes a step back. "Yes. Okay. Got it. Lily is not pregnant." He kisses Elisa on the forehead and looks back at me. "I am not telling you congratulations, Lily, for absolutely nothing." Elisa shoves him all the way out the door and closes it, then turns back to me. "We need to plan a baby shower," she says. "No, I need to tell Ryle first." She waves her hand dismissively. "We don't need him to plan a shower. We'll just keep it between the two of us until then." She pulls out her laptop, and for the first time since I found out I was pregnant, I feel happy about it. Chapter 30. It's rather convenient only having to take an elevator to get home from Elisa's, as much as I want to move out of my own apartment at times. It's still strange living there. We only lived there a week before we split up and Ryle left for England. It never even had the chance to feel like home, and now it feels a little tainted. I haven't even been able to sleep in our bedroom since that night, so I've been sleeping in the guest room on my old bed. Elisa and Marshall are still the only ones who know about the pregnancy. It's only been 2 weeks since I told them, which makes me 20 weeks along now. I know I should tell my mother, but Ryle will be back in a few weeks. I feel like I should tell him first before anyone else finds out. If I can just somehow hide my baby bump from her until he gets back to the States. I should probably just accept the fact that I'm more than likely going to have to call him and tell him long distance. I haven't seen my mother face to face in 2 weeks. It's the longest we've gone without seeing each other since she moved to Boston, so if something doesn't happen soon, she'll show up at my front door when I'm not prepared. I swear my stomach has doubled in size these last 2 weeks alone. If someone sees me who knows me well, it'll be impossible to hide. So far, no one at the floral shop has asked about it. I think I'm still on the cusp of, is she pregnant or just chubby? I start to unlock the door to my apartment, but it begins to open from the other side. Before I can pull the jacket over to hide my stomach from whoever is on the other side of the door, Ryle's eyes land on me. I'm wearing one of the shirts Elisa gave me, and it's kind of impossible to hide the fact that I'm wearing a maternity shirt when he's staring right at it. Ryle is here. My heart begins to smash against the walls of my chest. My neck begins to itch, so I bring my hand up and rest it there, feeling the pounding of my heart against my palm. It's pounding because I'm terrified of him. It's pounding because I hate him. It's pounding because I've missed him. His eyes slowly crawl from my stomach to my face. A hurtful expression takes over him. He takes a step back into my apartment and his hands come up to his mouth. He begins to shake his head in confusion. I can see the betrayal all over his face when he barely forces out my name. Lily? I stand frozen, one hand on my stomach in protection, the other hand still flat against my chest. I'm too scared to move or say anything. I don't want to react until I know exactly how he's going to react. When he sees the fear in my eyes and the small gasps of breath I'm barely inhaling, he holds up a reassuring palm. I'm not going to hurt you, Lily. I'm just here to talk to you. He swings the door open wider and points into the living room. Look. He steps aside and my eyes fall to someone standing behind him. Now I'm the one who feels betrayed. Marshall? Marshall immediately holds up his hands in defense. I had no idea he was coming home early, Lily. Ryle texted and asked for my help. He specifically told me not to say anything to you or Isa. Please don't let her divorce me. I'm simply an innocent bystander. I shake my head, trying to understand what I'm seeing. I asked him to meet me here, so you'd feel more comfortable talking to me, Ryle says. He's here for you. He's not here for me. I glance back at Marshall, and he nods. It gives me enough reassurance to enter the apartment. Ryle is still somewhat in shock, which is understandable. His eyes keep meeting my stomach and then flicking away like it hurts to look at me. He runs 2 hands through his hair and then points down the hallway while looking at Marshall. We'll be in the bedroom. If you hear me if I start to yell. Marshall knows what Ryle is asking him. I'm not going anywhere. As I follow Ryle into my bedroom, I wonder what that must be like. To have no idea what might set you off or how bad your reaction will be. To have absolutely no control over your own emotions. For a brief moment, I feel a minuscule amount of sorrow for him. But when my eyes fall to our bed and I remember that night, my sorrow diminishes completely. Ryle pushes the door shut, but doesn't close it all the way. He looks like he's aged an entire year in the 2 months it's been since I've seen him. The bags under his eyes, the furrowed brow, the sunken posture. If regret took human form, it would look identical to Ryle. His eyes fall to my stomach again, and he takes a slow step forward. Then another. He's cautious, as he should be. He reaches out a timid hand, asking for permission to touch me. I nod softly. He takes one more step forward and then places a steady palm against my stomach. I can feel the warmth of his hand through my shirt, and my eyes snap shut. Despite the resentment I've built up in my heart toward him, it doesn't mean the emotions aren't still there. Just because someone hurts you doesn't mean you can simply stop loving them. It's not a person's actions that hurt the most, it's the love. If there was no love attached to the action, the pain would be a little easier to bear. He moves his hand over my stomach and I open my eyes again. He's shaking his head, like he can't process what's happening right now. I watch as he slowly sinks to his knees in front of me. His arms snake around my waist and he presses his lips against my stomach. He clasps his hands around my lower back and presses his forehead against me. It's hard to describe what I feel for him in this moment. Like any mother would want for her child, it's a beautiful thing to see the love he already has. It's been hard not sharing this with anyone. It's hard not being able to share this with him, no matter how much resentment I hold toward him. My hands go to his hair while he holds me against him. Part of me wants to scream at him and call the police like I should have done that night. Part of me feels for that little boy who held his brother in his arms and watched him die. Part of me wishes I would have never met him. Part of me wishes I could forgive him. He unwraps his arms from around my waist and presses a hand into the mattress next to us. He pulls himself up and then sits on the bed. His elbows rest on his knees and his hands are drawn up to his mouth. I sit next to him, knowing we have to have this conversation, but not wanting to. Naked truths? He nods. I don't know which one of us is supposed to go first. I don't really have much to say to him at this point, so I wait for him to speak first. I don't even know where to start, Lily. He rubs his hands down his face. How about you start with, I'm sorry I attacked you. His eyes meet mine, wide with certainty. Lily, you have no idea. I am so sorry. You have no idea what I've been through these past 2 months, knowing what I've done to you. I clench my teeth together. I can feel my fingers as they fist around the blanket beside me. I have no idea what he's been through. I shake my head slowly. You have no idea, Ryle. I stand up, the anger and hatred spilling out of me. I spin, pointing at him. You have no idea. You have no idea what it's like to go through what you've put me through. To fear for your life at the hands of the man you love. To get physically sick just thinking about what he's done to you. You have no idea, Ryle. None. Fuck you. Fuck you for doing this to me. I suck in a huge breath, shocked at myself. The anger just came like a wave. I swipe at my tears and spin around, unable to look at him. Lily, he says, I don't know. I yell, spinning around again. I am not finished. You don't get to say your truth until I've said mine. He's grabbing at his jaw, squeezing the stress out of it. He drops his eyes to the floor, unable to look at the rage in mine. I take 3 steps toward him and drop to my knees. I place my hands on his legs, forcing him to look me straight in the eyes while I speak to him. Yes, I kept the magnet Atlas gave me when we were kids. Yes, I kept the journals. No, I didn't tell you about my tattoo. Yes, I probably should have. And yes, I still love him. And I'll love him until I die, because he was a huge part of my life. And yes, I'm sure that hurts you. But none of that gave you the right to do what you did to me. Even if you would have walked into my bedroom and caught us in bed together, you still would not have the right to lay a hand on me, you goddamn son of a bitch. I push off his knees and stand up again. Now it's your turn, I yell. I continue pacing the room. My heart is pounding like it wants out. I wish I could give it a way out. I'd set the motherfucker free right now if I could. Several minutes pass as I continue to pace. Ryle's silence and my anger eventually just fold together into pain. My tears have exhausted me. I am so tired of feeling. I fall desperately onto my bed and cry into my pillow. I press my face so hard against my pillow I can barely breathe. I feel Ryle lie down next to me. He places a gentle hand on the back of my head, attempting to soothe away the pain he's causing me. My eyes are still closed, still pressed into the pillow, but I feel him gently rest his head against mine. My truth is that I have absolutely nothing to say, he says quietly. I'll never be able to take back what I did to you, and you'll never believe me if I promise it won't happen again. He presses a kiss against my head. You are my world, Lily. My world. When I woke up on this bed that night and you were gone, I knew I would never get you back. I came here to tell you how incredibly sorry I am. I came to tell you I was taking that job offer in Minnesota. I came to tell you goodbye. But Lily... His lips press against my head again and he exhales sharply. Lily, I can't do that now. You have a part of me inside of you, and I already love this baby more than I've ever loved anything in my whole life. His voice cracks and he grips me even harder. Please don't take this away from me, Lily. Please. The pain in his voice ripples through me, and when I lift my tear-soaked face to look at him, he presses his lips desperately to mine and then pulls back. Please, Lily, I love you. Help me. His lips briefly meet mine again. When I don't push him away, his mouth comes back a 3rd time. A 4th. When his lips meet mine the 5th time, they don't leave. He wraps his arms around me and pulls me to him. My body is tired and weak, but it remembers him. My body remembers how his body can soothe everything I'm feeling, how his has a gentleness in it that my body has been craving for 2 months now. I love you, he whispers against my mouth. His tongue sweeps softly against mine, and it's so wrong and so good and so painful. Before I know it, I'm on my back and he's crawling on top of me. His touch is everything I need and everything I shouldn't. His hand wraps in my hair, and in an instant I'm transferred back to that night. I'm in the kitchen and his hand is tugging my hair so hard it hurts. He brushes the hair from my face, and in an instant I'm transferred back to that night. I'm standing in the doorway, and his hand is trailing across my shoulder right before he bites into me with all the strength in his jaw. His forehead rests gently against mine, and in an instant, I'm transferred back to that night. I'm on this same bed beneath him when he slams his head against mine so hard I have to get 6 stitches. My body becomes unresponsive to his. The anger begins to roll back over me. His mouth stops moving against mine when he feels me freeze. When he pulls back and looks down on me, I don't even have to say anything. Our eyes, locked together, speak more naked truths than our mouths ever have. My eyes are telling his that I can no longer stand being touched by him. His eyes are telling mine that he already knows. He begins to nod, slowly. He backs away from me, crawling down my body until he's at the edge of the bed with his back to me. He's still nodding as he comes to a slow stand, fully aware that he's not getting my forgiveness tonight. He begins heading toward my bedroom door. "Wait," I say to him. He half turns, looking back at me from the doorway. I lift my chin, looking at him with finality. "I wish this baby wasn't yours, Ryle. With everything that I am, I wish this baby was not a part of you." If I thought his world couldn't crumble more, I was wrong. He walks out of my bedroom and I press my face into my pillow. I thought if I could just hurt him like he had hurt me, I would feel avenged. I don't. Instead, I feel vindictive and mean. I feel like I'm my father. Chapter 31. Mom, I miss you. When am I going to see you? I stare at the text. It's been 2 days since Ryle found out I'm pregnant. I know it's time to tell my mother. I'm not nervous about telling her I'm pregnant. The only thing that scares me is discussing my situation with Ryle with her. Me. Miss you too. I'll come over tomorrow afternoon. Can you make lasagna? As soon as I close out the text to her, I get another incoming text. Elisa. Come upstairs and eat dinner with us tonight. It's homemade pizza night. I haven't been to Elisa's in a few days, since before Ryle came home. I'm not sure where he's staying, but I assume it's with them. The last thing I want right now is to have to be in the same apartment as him. Me. Who all will be there? Elisa. Lily. I wouldn't do that to you. He's working until 8 tomorrow morning. It'll just be the 3 of us. She knows me way too well. I text her back and tell her I'll come over as soon as I finish up with work. What do babies eat at this age? We're all seated around the table. Riley was asleep when I got here, but I woke her up so I could hold her. Elisa didn't mind. She said she doesn't want her wide awake when she's ready to go to bed. Breast milk? Marshall says with a mouthful. But sometimes I stick my finger in my soda and put it in her mouth so she can taste it. Marshall, Elisa yells. You better be kidding. Totally kidding, he says, although I can't tell if he really is. But when do they start eating baby food? I ask. I figure I need to learn this stuff before giving birth. Around 4 months, Elisa says with a yawn. She drops her fork and leans back in her chair, rubbing her eyes. You want me to keep her at my place tonight so you guys can get a full night of sleep? Elisa says, no, it's fine. At the same time, Marshall says, that would be awesome. I laugh. Really, I live right downstairs. I don't work tomorrow, so if I don't get any sleep tonight, I can just sleep in tomorrow. Elisa looks like she's contemplating it for a moment. I could leave my cell phone on in case you need me. I look back down at Riley and grin. Did you hear that? You get to have a sleepover with Aunt Lily. With everything Elisa is throwing in her diaper bag, it looks like I'm about to take Riley on a trip across the country. She'll let you know when she's hungry. Don't use the microwave to heat the milk. Just put it in. I know, I interrupt. I've made her like 50 bottles since she's been alive. Elisa nods and then walks over to her bed. She drops the diaper bag down beside me. Marshall is in the living room feeding Riley one last time, so Elisa lies down beside me on the bed while we wait. She props her head up on her hand. Do you know what this means? She asks. No, what? I get to have sex tonight. It's been 4 months. I crinkle up my nose. I didn't need to know that. She laughs and falls down on her pillow, but then sits straight up. Shit, she says. I should probably shave my legs. I think it's been 4 months since I did that too. I laugh, but then I gasp. My hands move quickly to my stomach. Oh my God. I just felt something. Really? Elisa puts her hand on my stomach, and we're both quiet for the next 5 minutes as we wait for it to happen again. It does, but it's so soft it's almost unnoticeable. I laugh again as soon as it happens. I didn't feel anything, Elisa says, pouting. I guess it'll be a few more weeks before you can feel it from the outside, though. Is this the first time you felt it move? Yeah. I've been scared I was growing the laziest baby in history. I keep my hands on my stomach, hoping to feel it again. We sit quietly for a few more minutes, and I can't help but wish my circumstances were different. Ryle should be here. He should be the one sitting beside me with his hand on my stomach, not Elisa. The thought almost takes away all the joy I'm feeling. Elisa must notice because she puts one of her hands on mine and squeezes. When I look at her, she isn't smiling anymore. Lily, she says, I've been wanting to say something to you. Oh, God, I don't like the sound of her voice. What is it? She sighs and then forces a gloomy smile. I know you're sad that you're going through this without my brother. No matter how involved he is, I just want you to know that this is going to be the best thing you've ever experienced in your life. You're going to be a great mom, Lily. This baby is really lucky. I'm glad Elisa is the only one in here right now because her words make me laugh, cry, and snot like a hormonal teenager. I hug her and tell her thank you. It's amazing how hearing those words gives me back the joy I was feeling. She smiles and then says, Now go get my baby and take her away from here so I can have some sex with my filthy rich husband. I roll off the bed and stand up. You sure know how to bring levity into a situation. I'd say it's your strong point. She smiles. That's what I'm here for. Now go away.